Hey guys, I have an exciting video today that might be able to help you guys out with your grocery budgets and things like that. After I did the Amazon haul about 2 weeks ago, I'll link it up here or down there, wherever you are, and I showed off my bread maker and my bread book. A lot of you were asking me to do a how to use the bread maker type of video, so that's what this is. I'm going to show you how I stretch my grocery budget a little bit by providing an extra type of bread for some of our meals. And with growing teenage boys, it's been a real blessing for us because prices are high right now. So one of the things that we can do is just add a little bit more, and that makes the food budget go a little bit further. So before I get into that, if you haven't already, make sure that you hit the like and the subscribe button because that really does help me and my family out. And make sure that you check out the link for our free Facebook group down below. All right, guys, let's get into the video. One of the ways that I stretch our food budget is by making bread in my bread machine. And this has been a really big help during the inflation crisis and with the rising food prices. It gives us a little bit extra on our plates and it makes everything go just a little bit further. So the machine that I have is a Hamilton Beach Artisan bread maker. It has 10 different settings, everything from a basic French gluten-free to just a basic dough, and even jam and rise, bake, and artisan. There's all kinds of different settings on this machine. The one that we use the most is just the regular #1 basic setting on this machine. So to get started, the first thing that I do is I don't actually do or put all of the ingredients into the basket while the basket is in the machine. I find it a lot easier to take the basket out and put it over on the counter where I'm getting all the ingredients ready, and it doesn't get anything inside of the machine where it's actually baking, because if that happens, the flour and things will actually burn, and then you'll smell that burning smell throughout your house instead of the bread smell. So I'm gonna take this out first, and usually you just twist it and pull it up to get it out. And this is what the inside of the basket looks like. And you have your little paddle right here that does all the kneading for you. So there's no kneading involved with a bread machine, which is the great part. So the only thing we're gonna do right now is just plug it in. Okay, so now we're just going to fill the basket and get it ready to go inside of the bread machine. Now, if I wasn't explaining all of these elements, this would take me approximately 5 minutes to do. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to take just regular non-cooking spray and spray the inside of the basket so the dough doesn't stick to the basket when it bakes. Now that's gonna be put off to the side until all the other things are ready, and then I'll show you the correct way to layer the ingredients so you get the best bread out of your bread machine. So first, the flour that I'm going to use, and this is not required, however, I like to do it because I think that it makes a little bit better of a bread, but if you have regular flour, that's totally fine. I do use actual bread flour. I get this from Walmart, and it's maybe $1 more, but I use this flour specifically for my bread machine. However, I have just used the regular unbleached flour, you know, the Walmart brand one, and it works just fine. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to get all my ingredients ready. And the book that we're going to be using is the bread machine book, and I will actually link this one down for you below as well. This was like a $5 book, totally worth it. Everyone in here we've loved so far. There are 3 different sizes in this book. We use the smallest size because fresh bread doesn't last nearly as long as bread that you would buy at the store. So I do like to make smaller loaves, and I find that that works out better for us. Okay, so I'm gonna put my cookbook over here, and I'm just going to use the 8 slices or the 1 pound version of the garlic bread. We are going to do the simple garlic bread inside of this book. Okay, so the first thing that I need is I need milk, and it needs to be warmed up at 70 to 80 degrees. So So I already popped this in the microwave, and I'm just going to test it with my electric thermometer here. And that's perfect. The reason you want the milk to be at a certain temperature is because if it's too hot, it'll kill your yeast, which means that your bread won't rise the way that it should. All right, so the next thing we need is a little bit of butter, and we're just going to pour that in there. It's melted butter, and it's been cooling, so it's not going to make the temperature rise in here. So that's our wet ingredients. And the way that you layer, we want this ready first. So we're gonna put this off to the side, and now we're gonna get our dry ingredients ready. So I like to put the flour in last because I want to know that I put all of my ingredients in that I needed first so I don't forget. So the first thing we're gonna do is sugar. And there's just a little bit of sugar in this one just because it's a garlic bread. We're going to do a teaspoon of salt. Okay, I have just regular garlic powder here. And you guys can tell I shop at Walmart because about everything in here is Walmart brand. Okay, now it says fresh parsley, but I don't spend money on things like that. So I have just regular dried parsley, and that's gonna work just fine for this one. I find that it really makes no difference. Okay, and now we're up to the flour. So now it wants 2 cups of white bread flour. The correct way to actually measure bread flour is to scoop it with a spoon and then level it off with a knife. So the way to do that is just to kind of fluff up your flour. And then I know it takes a little bit longer, but this is the actual correct way to scoop your flour and to measure it. And that way you don't get too much flour in your bread, and then that way it's not too dense or too chewy. And then we're just going to level that off with a knife like that. All right, and then we're just gonna do one more. Just level that off and then scoop it in here. And then I just mix all of the ingredients together. All right, so now we have our wet and our dry, and there's one more thing we're gonna add at the very end, so don't switch off the video yet because you need to see how that's done. Now, most bread makers are the same, but this will actually tell you to put the ingredients into your bucket or your basket in the correct order that your manual calls. So whatever one you have, you're going to need to make sure that you read the actual manual for this. The way that this Hamilton Beach Artisan one is set up, you want to put your wet in first and then your dry. Okay, so now we have our milk and our butter. Okay, and now we're going to put in the dry ingredients. And this is why I say please do this outside of your bread machine, because it's really super easy to get some of those ingredients outside of the basket because the basket is a little bit small. And you don't want that inside of your basket to burn, or outside of your basket, and it's gonna burn. Now the last thing we're gonna do is you're gonna put the yeast on top, and that is at least for this version. You don't mix it in, you actually put the yeast on top of the flour. But my yeast, I have found the best way to keep it fresh and to make sure that it rises every time is to keep it in the refrigerator after you open it. So I'm gonna go get that in my refrigerator. So this is the bread machine yeast that I use. In our bread machine, this one has done well every single time I've used it. It's specifically for bread machines, as you can see here. And I haven't used other yeasts before. However, from what I understand, it should be just fine to use. So I'm putting this on top of the flour here, so you could actually see it on top of everything.
Okay.
So here's what it looks like, and we're gonna go pop it back into the machine and get it ready to go. So now we're going to pop it back into the machine, and you're just going to basically twist and lock, and then put the handle down. And then you're gonna put the lid down, and then we have the settings to do. So for this loaf of bread, we are using the 1 pound setting. So we need to hit the loaf size and make sure that it's under the 1 pound. And then we are going to use menu setting 1, because menu setting 1 is the basic and that's what we need for this bread. And then you have the crust color. You can do light, medium, or dark. I like to do medium. And then this is the time. So it's gonna take 3 hours and 25 minutes. And then we just hit the start button. And then that's just the bread doing the first mixing and kneading, and then we don't touch it again for quite a long time until it's done and it stops, and then we'll take it out of the bucket. Okay, so it's been 3.5 hours and it's time to take it out. Hopefully my camera won't fog up here. Okay, so let's get it out of the bucket, but first, make sure that you are really careful because this handle right here is gonna be hot. So take a towel and pop it out. So you're gonna want some kind of cutting board or something to turn this out onto. And you're going to want this little piece that probably came with your bread maker. And just put this off to the side. You may need it, you may not. That's what's gonna get out the little dough hook for us. Okay, so now you're just going to take this and you're going to turn it over, but be really careful because this piece right here is super hot when you first take it out. And now basically you just shake and wiggle it until it drops out. Just like that. Put that over to the side, and we definitely need the dough, or we definitely need this because the little paddle piece did not come out with it. So we're going to take this and you're going to hold it with this bottom piece here, and with this top piece, we're going to get the little hook out. Okay, so now we see where that little hole is. We're going to dip this down in there, and you just kind of wiggle it. And then just kind of turn it with trying not to tear the bread. There we go. Okay, so now we're just gonna leave that off to the side, kind of push that back down, and turn the bread back over. And then this can be washed. So now you can use one of these slicers to slice up the bread in individual slices if you'd like. I also got this from Amazon. I'll try to link it below if you need that too. And these are the smaller slices here, and then these are the wider, bigger pieces here. Just depends on how you want your bread cut. That's all up to you. And I also like to smear melted butter over the top while it's still hot, and it kind of bakes into the bread and makes it really, really good. How easy was that? That is how I make fresh bread for my family. Remember, this takes about 3 hours, so I typically have it in around lunchtime. I haven't eaten lunch yet. I'm gonna go do that as soon as I hit the off button on this video. And that is going to help me out greatly with dinner tonight, and it's going to be really good too. The garlic bread is so far my personal favorite, and especially when there is melted butter, and I like to put pink Himalayan salt on the top. It's really good. I hope that you guys give this one a try. Let me know if you do down below in the comments, and let me know, how do you stretch your food budget at your house? We all can use tips right now, can we not? I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and happy homeschooling.